Hello there, welcome back to my channel. This time I'm going to be doing what's retiring, obviously again in 2025. I use the information from Brick Fanatic, and I say it all the time, obviously it changes, and I wouldn't advise anybody to buy anything from Star Wars until at least after Star Wars Day, and I certainly would not be buying it until later on in the year, unless you were just going to buy one or two, and if you were planning on buying 10 or something, spread it over the period, so that then the ones later on in the year, if you can get a deal on them and you're more certain that they're going to retire, then obviously the ones that you got first of all may be a few pounds more expensive than the ones that you get later on, but at least you can kind of spread the discount that you've got later on with the 10 that you bought. So then obviously you're not buying 10 at a certain price. Obviously you could spend a few more pounds doing it that way, but at least you're not going to get 10 sets that you bought because Star Wars Day had it on at 40% off or whatever, and you assume that because it's got 40% off it's going to retire, and then buying 10 sets of a £200 set and then realizing that it's not going to retire. Whereas if you'd have bought two and then in 2 months time bought another two, and then 2 months time bought another two, until December, when you're sort of pretty much it will retire, or you're pretty much certain that it'll retire, or there's 99% sure it'll retire, then you can buy, you know, another 4 or whatever it is to bump it up to the 10 that you wanted to buy. Say it might cost you a few more pounds, but at least you're not going to be stuck then with a 10 of a set that's not going to retire now, and you're either going to liquidate your stock or keep it for another year. I'm also going to mention that Clayton mentioned it on his videos, that I said in my strategy that I get a lot more of my stock, or my collection, whatever you want to call it, from actually going into a store, because I think you can get more discounts and deals that way, because doing it that way you're not getting it online and everybody else is getting the same prices, sort of thing, whereas a store has got shelves that they've got to empty and more new stuff coming in, they're moving things around and you can get better deals. So obviously a lot of people will know that B&M had an offer on for a couple of weeks. I'll just show you some of the things that I got. I got 4 of these. I got 4 of these. The Batman was 30, the Speed Champions were 20. I got 3 of these. I got 4 of these, and I got 1 of these. Could have got more, but I didn't want to shell out that sort of money yet. The Batman was 30, the Speed Champions was 20, the ramp was 30, and the excavator was 20, and obviously the Marvel was 50. So you can get some good deals going to the shops rather than buying off Amazon or whatever it is like that. I'm not saying that you can't get a deal from Amazon or whatever, which you can sometimes, but I just personally find it easier or better to go to a store, and I think you can get better deals that way. Like I say, I'm using the Brick Fanatics website for the information, so like I always say, it may change, it probably will change, and you know what Star Wars is like. So just take it with a bucket of salt, sort of thing like that. If you go on the Brick Fanatics website, for what's retiring, Star Wars is the first theme, so I'll start off with Star Wars. And what I am doing this time is, like I mentioned in one of my other videos, I'm kind of slimming down the information that I'm doing. But if there's certain information that you think is more pertinent, like I like to look at things like how many people want it, or how many have got it, or that kind of thing like that. But I haven't done that in this. Obviously, whilst I'm doing the research myself, I look myself, but like I said in my last video, I'm trying to narrow it down to just the points of information that you're interested in, more on things like how many have sold and that kind of thing. So that brings me to the repetitive message that I always put is I pay a premium on a website to get the information that I'm giving you now. The information that comes from a website that's compiled from eBay, Amazon, Bricklink and StockX, and it also covers USA, UK, Europe, Denmark and Australia. Just those, like I've said in my previous videos, I kind of, rather than having no idea whatsoever how many have actually sold of a certain set, at least now I've got a rough idea in my head. All I do is if I say that it's sold 10,000, I times it by 4. So in my head I kind of think, right, okay, Amazon and eBay and Bricklink are quite a big portion of the sales around the world. I take that into account and kind of times it by 4. Obviously with the countries that I'm talking about, you know, the USA, UK, all that kind of thing, it's also a big portion of the world, it's covering Europe as well. That kind of takes into account. So I could be wrong, I could be, maybe it's times it by 10 or something, but at least you have a number to go by and go from and think in your head, well, I think it's wrong, I think it should be more than that, I think it should be less than that, whatever it is. But at least now you're not kind of just imagining any sort of figure, you've got a rough figure to go from. Okay, right, so Star Wars retiring in 2025. First one is 40755, the Imperial Dropship versus Rebel Scout Speeder, $34.99. It's got 6 figures valued at £30, 3 of which are unique. Or expected annual growth is 7%, and it's got an expected good investment. Amazon, at the moment there isn't any for sale at Amazon. On eBay it's sold for £49, and on Bricklink it's valued at £32. That's an average value. 3,829 have sold. Now another thing I wanted to mention is when I say the expected annual growth is 7%, that's obviously from the MSRP. So I get people who comment who do stocks and shares and things like that, you know, and go, 7%, is that it? You know, kind of thing. But obviously you're not going to get it at MSRP. You're going to buy it for hopefully at least 20, 30, 40% off. When you're getting them sort of prices, the increase isn't 7%. It's going to be a lot more, you know, and some of the sets you could be looking at 30%, you know, annual increase, or you know, an increase that works out at 30%. When people go, oh, 7%, you know, I wouldn't even bother for that, you know, grow up and stop playing with toys and you know, do stocks and shares instead. Obviously, like I say, that's the MSRP figure. Right, anyway, carry on now. Next one is 75304, Darth Vader helmet, $69.99. The annual increase on that is 6%. It's got an expected good investment. It's Amazon, it's between $39.99 and £68 it's selling on Amazon. On eBay it's sold for £61, and on Bricklink it's valued at £70. And it's sold 44,957. Next one is 75331, the Razor Crest, $519.99. It's got 4 figures, 3 of them unique, valued at around £90. That's got an expected annual growth of 6% with an expected good investment. Amazon, it's for sale for between £489 and £742. On eBay it's sold for £496, and on Bricklink it's valued at £470. 13,054 have sold. Obviously I did this research a few days ago, so if you go and have a look now, that's probably gone up. So don't kind of quote me exactly to the number, it's it'll change. Next one is 75354, the Coruscant guard ship, the gunship, $129.99. Got 5 figures, 3 of them unique, valued at around £56. It's got an expected annual growth of 8% with an expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for between £112 and £240. On eBay it's sold for £150, and on Bricklink it's valued at £122. And 15,213 have sold. Next one is 75355, the X-Wing Starfighter, $209.99. It's got two figures, one of them unique, valued at around £19. It's got an annual growth of 6% with an expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for £359. On eBay it's sold for £220, and on Bricklink it's valued at £210. 14,491 have sold. Next one is 75357, the one that everybody was a bit annoyed about last year, the Ghost and Phantom 2, £149.99. It's got four figures that are all unique, valued at around £63. It's got annual growth of 5% with an expected good investment. With Amazon it's being sold for between £126 and £150. On eBay it's sold for £138. And Bricklink is valued at £148. It's sold 14,444. Next one is 75362, the Ahsoka Tano T6 Jedi Shuttle, £64.99. It's got four figures, three of them unique, valued at £22. Expected annual growth of 5%. Expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for between £43 and £65, and on eBay it's sold for £61. Bricklink is valued at £58, and it's sold £20,859. Next one is 75373, Ambush on Mandalore Battle Pack, £19.99. Got four figures, one unique, valued at £10. It's got 5% annual growth with expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for between £13 and £22. eBay it's sold for £25, and Bricklink is valued at £16. 13,450 have sold. Next one is 75374, the Onyx Cinder, £124.99. It's got five figures that are all unique, valued at around £51, with an expected growth of 7% and also an expected good investment. Amazon it's being sold for between £80 and £125. On eBay it's sold for £125. On Bricklink it's valued at £89, and it's sold £2,945. Next one is 75376, the Tantive 4, £69.99. I've actually got three of them that I got from B&M for £30. Expected annual growth of 5%. Expected good investment. It's being sold on Amazon for between £48 and £70. On eBay it's sold for £70, and Bricklink is valued for £60. 10,328 have sold. Next one is 75377, the Invisible Hand, £46.99. It's got an expected growth of 5% with an expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for between £45 and £66. On eBay it's sold for £52.45, and on Bricklink it's valued at £50. 9,322 of them have sold. Next one is 75378, the Bark Speeder Escape, £24.99. It's got four figures, one unique, valued at around £11. It's an expected growth of 5%. Amazon's been sold for between £18 and £29. On eBay it's sold for £25. Bricklink is valued at £21.73. 9,970 have sold. Next one is 75380, the Moss Esper Pod Race Diorama, £69.99. That's got an expected growth of 5% with an expected good investment. On Amazon it's being sold for between £49 and £90, and on eBay it's sold for £73. Bricklink have valued it at £37. There's a big difference there. 7,027 have sold. Next one is the 75381, the Droidica, £59.99. It's got one unique figure valued at £8, expected growth of 8%, expected good investment, and I forgot to put the figures down. 9,958 have sold, but I'll get my wife to put the figures on when she actually posts it. Next one is 75383, the Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator, £59.99. Now the information for this is a bit messed up. Obviously everybody watching this will know what's happened with the figures. If you look up the figures at the moment, they're valued as 5 unique figures, valued at £200. It's because of the Obi-Wan, but if you look on some sites it's got one value, if you look on other sites it's got another value. It just went stupid for a while. All the data in that is a bit messed up, so the values and things, you can't really go by it because it's just a bit silly at the moment. It's got an expected growth of 8% and also an expected good investment, being sold on Amazon for between £60 and £93, and it actually sold on eBay for £208.71. So that's where the stupidity comes into it. But anyway, Bricklink value at 71 and it sold 9,567. Obviously, if you're lucky to get the one with the matching beard and hair, then great. But or is it the other way around that's more valuable? I'm not sure. But I haven't got one anyway. So the next one is 75384, the Crimson Firehawk, 46.99. It's got 3 unique figures valued at around £21. It's got an annual growth of 5%. On Amazon, it's being sold for between £20 and £45. On eBay, it's sold for £30. And on Bricklink it's valued at £28. There isn't enough data on it to say how many is actually sold, but judging by the hate that it gets online, not many. I mean, I've actually got 5 of them, I think, but I got them on clearance. So next one is 75385, the Ahsoka Tano Dual on Peridea, $49.99. It's got 5 unique figures valued at around £41, expected growth of 5% and an expected good investment. On Amazon, it's being sold for between £48 and £80, and on eBay, it's sold for £68.50. Bricklink is valued at £43, and it's sold 6,262 sets. Next one is 75386, the Paz Vizsla and Moff Gideon Battle Pack, $34.99. It's got 4 figures, 2 unique, valued at around £16. Got a 5% expected growth with an expected good investment. On Amazon, it's being sold for between £25 and £37. On eBay, it's sold for £31, and Bricklink value it at £30. 9,445 have sold. Next one is 75387, Boarding the Tantive 4, $49.99. So 7 figures, 2 unique, valued at around £23. Expected growth of 7% with an expected good investment. Amazon, it's being sold for between £37 and £54, and on eBay, it's sold for £53. On Bricklink, it's valued at £43, and it's sold 22,237. Next one is 75390, Luke Skywalker and the X-Wing mech, $12.99. It's got 1 figure valued at around £3. Expected growth of 6% with an expected good investment. It's being sold on Amazon for between £9.74 and £16. On eBay, it's sold for £17.45. Bricklink is valued at £12.60. It's sold 4,265. Next one is 75392, the Creative Play Droid Builder, $89.99. It's got 1 unique figure valued at around £36 with a expected growth of 7%. Expected good investment. On Amazon, it's being sold for between £100 and £165. On eBay, it's sold for £90, and Bricklink have valued it around £41. It's sold 1,914 sets. The next one is 75393, the TIE Fighter and X-Wing mashup, $94.99. It's got 5 figures, 4 unique, valued at around £42. It's got an expected growth of 5% with an expected good investment. Amazon, it's being sold for between £68 and £95. On eBay, it's sold for £100. On Bricklink, it's valued at $74.39, and 2,614 people have bought it. And the last one is 75396, the Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit, $69.99. 6 figures, 4 unique, valued at around £32. Expected growth of 7%. Expected good investment. Amazon is being sold for between £50 and £70. On eBay, it's sold for £70, and on Bricklink, it's valued at around £55. And it's sold 7,006 sets. So that concludes the Star Wars that's retiring in 2025. Obviously, like I said before, especially after May the 4th or Star Wars Day, whatever you want to call it, that could change. But with Star Wars, I literally expect it to change all the way right up until December. If I buy them, then I will just keep it on my shelf and wait for it to retire the next year. And like I've said before in my videos, I don't buy the huge expensive sets anyway, so if it's sat there, then it doesn't really matter. It's not set there for another year. I know people liquidate their assets, but I don't mind it just sat there. I mean, I just like to sit here and look at it, if you know what I mean. So Anyway, my next video will be ideas following the format of Brick Fanatics. So obviously remember, this data could change. It's not set in stone. It's from Brick Fanatics, and don't blame me. And if I get comments sort of saying this isn't retiring or that's retiring, whatever, it's the information that I've got when I did the research, so it could change. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Please like, comment and subscribe.